Hi, my name is Mark Keene from Keene Engineering, and I'm going to show you a brand new dredge we're playing with. This is our brand new model. It's called the 25025 SNM for Mini. So basically, it's the same motor, pump, sluice, the whole format that we use on our really high-performance 2-inch dredge. But what we did basically is we converted we put a different jet flare system, we put a bigger suction hose on it, a custom suction nozzle, and a blaster hose system. So basically we have a dredge with a lot of capacity built in a very small frame. So I mean, if you want something backpackable, you want something really portable, this is a beast of a dredge for its size. It doesn't look very big, but it has quite a bit of capacity. Okay, so the basic floats, the frame, everything else are the same, but we did make some changes in the sluice box. See, when you go from even though we're in the same motor pump, when you go from a 2-inch to a 2.5-inch sluice box, you'll be pushing more water through the sluice box. So what we did is we put what's called as a slow flow sluice enhancement on here. So the screen in the back will just ensure that we're going to capture all our fine flour gold. In fact, this whole sluice box does a killer job on fine gold. But when you add this slow flow screen in it, it really is a game changer when it comes to that, 100, 150 type mesh gold that in most dredges you'd be blown out. But typically a small dredge does a pretty good job on fine gold recovery. Okay, this dredge has a lot of very unique things on it that we don't put on as a standard equipment on most of our other dredges. The first thing that I think is really cool is we're using a different type of a suction nozzle. We actually put a ring on the outside and we put a simple crossbar, like a half moon, on the outside. What this does for you, it actually increases your suction power. If you know anything about fluid dynamics, we're not going through a reduction, we actually go through an increased opening. So when the water comes into the nozzle, it doesn't hit any square edges, it just kind of goes up and follows a round edge all the way in. Now we didn't put a bar across it, but I put a half moon bar, okay? And what this does, it's still allowing us to suck, let's say, like a 1 3/4 inch particle. You still could get some torpedo rocks in there and stuff that could jam in here, but I think your rock jams would be cut down like, probably 95% because of this nozzle. But it's something kind of unique. A buddy of mine, Philip, showed me how to do this, and I built about half a dozen for other customers, and then my brother and I took it out locally and did some testing on it, and it really did perform well. So I'm going to incorporate on this new dredge here. So that's a big deal, but this nozzle is just perfect for shallow water conditions. You can be sucking half air, half water, and it's still going to keep sucking hard. Also, part of this package is what we call is a blaster kit. And on this blaster kit, what happens is you're able to open this valve up and you can create a high pressure stream of water. So you can blast out, probably 60 gallons a minute out of this nozzle if you want to. And you can disseminate clays and hard pack and clean out those cracks and crevices. Now, since we're on that, I'm going to back up and show you something back here. We go back about 5 feet here on the hose. And what I'm doing is getting tangled, is we incorporate a ball valve here. Now, if you pay attention to the plumbing, the pump is producing, like I said earlier, probably close to 100 gallons a minute. A head lift about 160 foot ahead. So I go through 15 foot of high pressure hose and it comes into this Y splitter. So normally this valve is going to be open probably 90% of the time. So we have high pressure water shooting into here, traveling through my J-bend, through the internal orifice, down into my suction nozzle, and that's what creates the vacuum. Okay. But with this valve here, I'm actually able to decrease my flow to the suction nozzle and create more pressure here. So if I had, like, let's say some really aggressive, bedrock that I need to break down and disseminate, this thing's literally going to take 2 hands. It's going to be like really a lot of force to hold on to it. So I'm able to balance my pressure between here and here. And one of the nicest things, we've also created a dry land dredge nozzle. See, if you have like a little crack or crevice that's sitting above the water, what you can do is you can be blasting in front of this nozzle here, and you can be sucking up the material simultaneously. So it's commonly, the general mining term is like a dry land nozzle or a hydroforce nozzle. but this type of system essentially does the same thing or better. I actually like this type a little better than, let's say, some of the other nozzles, because I actually have something that's got power that I can cut and disseminate the clays and break down bedrock and stuff. So this is really cool the way this system works. Now there's another really nice facet to this thing. Oh, by the way, it's interesting. We run about a 10-foot piece of hose right here. I run a 5-foot piece of hose right here, so you have plenty of room to work in front of you. So you can even get out in front of the dredge and watch the crack back towards the nozzle if you want to, so you have a nice hose. But by running the shorter hoses here, honestly, it's less stuff you have to carry. It's less weight that you have to move around. All right, another cool feature too is, you know, we're doing a lot of things on the suction tip, on the suction nozzle, like I discussed about the, you know, the special ring system with the crossbar, creating the perfect, you know, hydrodynamics, going of the water into the nozzle. Everything's about keeping the suction at a maximum, because we're running a smaller motor, so we need to build everything efficient. So we did a couple things. That suction tip can probably pick up your suction 10-15%, somewhere in that ballpark. We've also done something in here too. We've got the oversized power jet connection system. So that's going to let, let's say, like an 1.5 inch, 1 3/4 particulate go through the nozzle, through the hose, back into here. But inside here, there's no lip. So we have a piece of 2.5 inch suction hose going into a metal receiver, which is just slightly over 2.5 inch, which then goes into the jet flare, which is probably close to 2.5 inch, 3 inch ID. Okay, so we go from small and it gets bigger into the hose, gets bigger into the coupler, bigger into the jet flare, bigger in the box. And what that does is no rock jams. See, normally with a dredge, with a suction nozzle, you know, everybody knows this, it's kind of a common knowledge. You're going to be burdened with a lot of rock jams. But with that suction tip built the way it is, that should significantly cut your rock jams down, you know. And then when you add this on here, that's both. So I mean, where under a conventional system we might get a dozen, maybe more jams a day, you might get, you know, maybe just 1 or 2 a day with a system like this. And the alternative is to, you know, put more restriction on the tip, but then you end up throwing 10 times more rocks. So the name of the game really is to move as much material, as large as particulate through the dredge as you can, but everything's a compromise. If you go too big, you get too many rock jams. If you go too small, you end up moving every rock by hand. So this is a really good compromise. And again, the blaster hose assembly is just amazing the way it works. It's very efficient. The small floats and frame supports the dredge just fine. We did the one trick on the sluice box to increase the fine glow recovery because we have a little higher water flow going through a 10-inch wide sluice. But again, we're running the smaller sluice, we have a smaller engine. But interesting, this little P90 pump, it probably puts out more pressure than our bigger pumps. It's because this little pump is spinning at like at 7,500 RPMs. It really generates a lot of head pressure, where the other pumps may spin at, you know, like 3,600 RPMs. So, you know, unless you're a pump guy, you may not understand all that stuff, but it's just a hell of a package. And again, I love something I can pick up with 2 fingers. And I mean, this whole machine probably doesn't weigh much over about, I haven't weighed it yet, but just guessing, probably about 85 pounds or so. So you can carry this in with a couple trips, or you and a buddy. But this is the dredge that my brother used, and I back when dredging was legal. Back when dredging was legal, and we had a lot of fun with it. And we took this to a little creek that was really remote. I mean, this creek we had to hike in, you know, like 2.5 hours, and you know, you had to put your boots on and your water boots on, and you're hiking through poison oak. It's just a really horrible condition. But we actually left this dredge up there, and we dredged that canyon for, you know, probably months on the weekends, and we did quite well. So we're actually getting ready to go up there again, coming up here very soon with all these new rains. And by the way, you know, and if you're a California miner, you know, very potentially, this year, it's 2023, we're going to have catastrophic floods up in Northern California. I mean, you know, possibly 100, 200-year floods. You know, with all these floods going on, it's really going to be a good time to get out there and do some mining. Whether you're sluicing, panning, whatever you're into, it's going to be a killer year. But I'm looking forward to see how these work for some of our other customers. I think this is going to be the ultimate small package, portable, low grease dredge in the world. Nobody has anything close to this kind of performance. And I got the best pump, I got the best sluice box, I got the best suction nozzle system, I got the best blaster system. This thing just going to be a, you know, rocking piece of equipment. So again, I believe we're going to call it the 25025 SNM for mini, and I think it's going to sell for about, again, price has changed so much I hate to even say it on a video, but probably about $28.50 or so, somewhere in that ballpark, you know, $2,850. But it does everything, and it doesn't weigh hardly anything. And again, this dredge comes standard where you can use it like a dryland dredge, and a dryland dredge is something pretty popular a lot of guys use. So anyways, if you have any further questions, feel free to give us a call. Both Patrick and I are really well versed in the dredge. So give us a call at the shop here at Keen Engineering. All right, thanks for your time.